This is a Ceedee Lamb only clip, but I want to add some original content at the top here so you haven't seen this particular rant that I'm going to add to the beginning. People DM me and comment that Lamb's not it, and I don't think people are watching the full clip all the way through. My explanation is in the clip. Lamb is 100% baked in, boys, value. And I speak specifically about Dalvin Cook the year Dalvin Cook broke out in this clip. It's a real important part of the clip to pay attention to because people doubted Dalvin Cook when his risk was baked in and he was going in round 2, his breakout year, his re-breakout year, his re-emergence after the year that took place after his ACL tear. People were afraid to buy back into him. He was injury prone, but his ADP continued to drop into a safe place, but people get used to calling somebody a risk even when the ADP falls. And the whole point of this clip you're about to watch, and I wanted to hit it at the top here with an original take that you didn't see on the original video, is that the adjusting and adapting part that people are failing to do is the key to the whole video. If you don't understand that concept or what I'm trying to say there, you're not going to retain or absorb anything I'm going to say in the clip that's upcoming. Because with Dalvin Cook, the year he broke back out, he was a top 5 guy, tore his ACL, everybody doubted him. When he fell into late second round value early on in that offseason that I predicted his top 5 performance, people kept talking about him like he was still getting drafted in the top 5. I wanted to yell at people when they'd have conversations with me and say, I just don't know if I can trust him as a top 5 running back. Bob, he's not going in the top 5. He's going at 18 or 22 or 17 or whatever. Stop talking about him being a risky top 5 guy, Bob. That's the point here. People keep talking about Lamb right now as if his ADP is holding true from last year. Start talking about Lamb as a late 4th round player. That's my point of this whole video. So here it is. Now it's time to talk about
Ceedee Lamb.
A lot of people are going to cast a lot of shade on Ceedee Lamb walking into 2022, and I understand why. Lamb didn't have the year we wanted him to have. We wanted him to be a top 1 to 5 wide receiver, but he didn't drop awful numbers. He didn't bust. Darren Waller busted. Christian McCaffrey busted, and you can argue injury. Oh, you can't bust if you get hurt. I disagree. You can define bust however you want. As I talk about all the time, busting to me is not delivering, crapping the bed, making me lose my season. You bust whether you get hurt or not, and Lamb didn't bust on you. Lamb dropped about 80 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Not horrible. That's wide receiver 2 material. Like, he didn't deliver what we wanted him to deliver, clearly. Disappointed, guilty of disappointing, no question about it. But if you watch football, if you watch all of Lamb's plays, you know he's still an alpha. The most common thing I see in a comment is he's not a wide receiver 1, he's not the alpha,
he's trash,
all he's ever going to be is a wide receiver 2. There are reasons to worry that could come true, but they're based on coaching, they're based on Dak. Now, because we don't know if things are going to change in 2022, we don't know if they're going to utilize Ceedee Lamb to his potential, maximize the potential this guy has, get the most out of him. Because we don't know if anything's going to change, he would be risky at last year's ADP. Last year, Ceedee Lamb had an ADP right around this 2-3 turn. This is where Ceedee Lamb lived. You either took him at the very end of round 2 or you got him in 3 and you counted your lucky stars because we thought, oh my God, this guy's going to blow up. This guy's going to be insane. This guy's going to be the next top 5 wide receiver. Clearly, he didn't drop that good of a season. He dropped a good season, but not that good of a season. And so he disappointed you from this ADP. Well, I've got news for you because in 2022, Ceedee Lamb's ADP is coming in right around this 4-5 turn. You're talking about a round difference, 2 rounds apart from last year's ADP and this year's ADP. That is fantastic. That bakes in every single little bit of risk into the equation.
Baked in, boys!
And let's say that's wrong. Let's say we don't get that lucky. He doesn't fall to the 4-5 turn. He falls to like 4.3 or 4.4. Still a value. Everything I say today applies still. Maybe to a tiny lesser degree because you're getting him a little bit at a more expensive value. But I'm not worried at all about Ceedee Lamb as my 4th drafted player. And he's not going to go higher than that in general, even if people some people still love him because he went in the 3rd round last year and disappointed, and everybody's saying he's trash, he's this, he's that. There's no way he's falling like a few spots and still going in the same round. He's going in round 4, maybe the 4-5 turn, maybe it's 4.5, doesn't matter. We'll talk about it at 4-5. That turn, that's where we'll define it for right now. But if it does climb, know that I'm okay with 4.3, 4.5. 4th drafted player material is gold, in my opinion, given what I'm gonna lay out right now. So when you get people that say, oh, Smitty, I just don't know that he's gonna become that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
When people say that, I laugh because what you're buying him at is not that guy. You're buying Ceedee Lamb at a value that's going to earn you what? It's going to earn you these numbers right here. If he disappoints and gets those numbers, he earns his value here. It's completely baked in. Fantasy owners aren't going to adjust and adapt to his ADP. This is like when Dalvin Cook, when I first launched my channel, in the intro, top 5 running back. Cook was number 3 or 4 overall. And when he tore his ACL, came back and busted the next year with lingering injuries relating to the ACL recovery, because ACLs typically take more than 1 year to recover. The main reason we didn't like Barkley walking into 2021. And another reason I'm not on the Godwin train, people need to relax on Godwin walking into 2022, coming off an ACL tear. But Dalvin Cook was a top 5 guy before the injuries. And what did everybody say walking into his breakout year? Smitty, I don't think Dalvin Cook's worth taking in the top 5. Bob, he's not going in the top 5. Bob, he's going in the 2-3 turn range. That's where Dalvin Cook was going his breakout year. But yet everybody kept talking and referencing the top 5 value. He's not worth the top 5 value, Smitty. I just don't like it. When Dalvin Cook was going in the 2-3 turn. Same thing here. Lamb was going at the 2-3 turn. He's not worth a top 5 wide receiver pick, Smitty. I just don't see it happening this year. You don't have to worry about that because he's going at the 4-5 turn in 2022. That's where his value looks to be hiding. Everything's baked in. You take a frog, you throw him in boiling water, he jumps out. You take a frog, you put him in lukewarm water, turn it on high, he slowly boils to death. It doesn't jump out of the pot because it's subtle. It happens subtly, and he doesn't realize he's burning to death, and then he dies. It's a frog analogy, people. Relax, okay? I'm not saying it'll actually happen. That's an analogy. But I think people with ADP, they boil to death because they don't adjust to the slowly evolving ADP, or unraveling, or dropping, or falling in ADP. So Lamb, he's a bust. Okay, well, he's dropping into the late 3rd round. He's a bust. He's dropping into the top of the 4th round. He's a bust. Now he's at the 4-5 turn, and you're still saying he's a bust. Adjust and adapt. Don't reverse sunk cost fallacy this bad boy. I'm going to keep saying no because I've been saying no. People are going to pile on the negativity, the doubt. So the question is, am I throwing good after bad? Am I trying to double down because I've talked so much about Ceedee Lamb? Here's where I told you it gets complicated. You need to know when you're reaching and when you're not. You need to know when you're not acknowledging that you're biased against somebody. I'm continually trying to pump up Ceedee Lamb because I've just created too much content about him, and I can't be wrong. I can't be made to look a fool, so I'm going to double down again. Even though in my heart he's not going to do well, I don't feel that way about Ceedee Lamb. With Akers, I give you my honest approach. I'm mixed. I kind of feel like maybe I need to give him more of a chance, but I do tell you, I don't like how he's rushing it. It does zero good for his 2022 value to be rushing, or his future value, or potential ability to stave off injuries. He's running a high risk of getting hurt again, but the talent looks there. I've admitted it. Sunk cost fallacy may be in play for Akers for me, but I'm telling you right now, I've evaluated the situation. I am not victim of sunk cost fallacy when it comes to Ceedee Lamb. This is not me throwing more good after bad. This is not me digging my heels in and creating a bigger problem for myself and my content because I don't want to let go of an earlier prediction. This is not that case. This is not sunk cost fallacy for me. It's like the reverse for everybody continuing to pile on and not adjusting and adapting to his ADP, which is falling into a very ridiculously good and low risk situation. Sunk cost fallacy exists, but it doesn't exist here. And determining when it does and when it doesn't exist is going to be the challenge that we all face walking into the coming weeks and months as we train and try and get better at psychology and fantasy football and learning where we need to improve and where we might have bias holding us back in our evaluation process. So Ceedee Lamb, I'm telling you people, if you watch his games, if you watch football at all, if you don't just, maybe you're watching the red zone and you're flipping back and forth and it's not your fault. But if you're watching this man play, you know that he's one of the most dangerous players in the NFL when in the slot. You know that the Cowboys didn't use him against the Niners at all. It wasn't Ceedee Lamb's fault that he didn't do anything in that playoff game against the Niners. The Cowboys misused him. We're worried about that continuing, which is why we have doubt, which is why his ADP has rightfully so fallen into the 4th round, maybe 4 or 5 turn range. Acceptable, understandable, and appropriate. But with that, you have to adapt your thinking and acknowledge that this man right here possesses top 5 wide receiver skills. He does. If you don't think that, you aren't watching all of his film. This guy's an alpha. He's not a wide receiver 2. He's entering his 3rd year. Sometimes wide receivers take a full 3 years to explode. Not everybody's Jamar Chase. Not everybody's Justin Jefferson. It doesn't mean that the 3rd year breakout can't eventually be as good as the guy that can do it in year 1. Situations matter. Dak's been looking like garbage. We're worried about that continuing, but Dak's the problem. McCarthy's the problem. Getting Ceedee Lamb the football will be the objective, has to be the objective for 2022. Walking into it, trying to solve these problems, realizing that when in the slot, he burns everybody. When moving him around the field, like Debo, getting him involved all over the field, he becomes a weapon. He's an alpha weapon. He's a wide receiver 1. If you watch his film, you understand he's only going to get better. He's untapped in terms of some of his talents and skills. He will only get better. And if they utilize him properly, he's going to explode and absolutely crush his 4 or 5 turn, 4 to 5 round range ADP. And if he doesn't, if things don't improve, Dak continues to not utilize Lamb, McCarthy stays and continues to not utilize Lamb, he doesn't move around all over the field, he's not in the slot a lot where he dominates. If nothing changes, he still earns you 80 receptions, probably 11 to 1,200 yards, and you got to think 7 to 8 touchdowns. He'll improve marginally, even if things don't improve around him. Even if his situation remains crap, he will get you 1,100 to 1,200 yards, 80 receptions, and 6 to 8 touchdowns. That's your worst case scenario, and you're worried about that at 4 or 5 round turn range because everybody else is saying it. This is not sunk cost fallacy, people.